Imagine you are standing in front of a bathroom mirror. You are brushing your teeth and getting ready for the day ahead. You look at your face, you see your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. But right below your mouth is something incredibly strange. You have a chin. It points outward, forming a little bony shelf at the bottom of your face. You probably think nothing of it, but if you brought your dog to the mirror, you would see they do not have one. A chimpanzee does not have one. Not even a gorilla has one. In fact, if you searched the entire animal kingdom, you would find absolutely nothing like it. So why are humans the only animals on Earth with a chin, and what other strange secrets is your body hiding? It sounds like a joke at first. Of course, other animals have chins, right? Look at a cat or a bear. They have lower jaws, but they do not have a true chin. A true chin is a specific piece of bone that juts forward at the very bottom of the jaw. Every other animal has a jaw that slopes backward toward their neck. Even our closest extinct cousins, the Neanderthals, had jaws that sloped away. We are the sole owners of this weird facial feature. Biologists and anthropologists have spent over a century arguing about why it is there. Evolution usually has a reason for everything. A bird has wings to fly. A cheetah has spots to blend into the grass. But the chin seems completely useless. It does not help us eat. It does not help us fight. Yet every single human on the planet has one, and that is just the beginning. Your body is a living museum. It is packed with biological ghosts. These are leftover parts from millions of years ago that we no longer need, or parts that have completely changed their jobs over time. Let us start with that bony shelf on your face. For a long time, scientists thought the chin helped us chew. Early humans ate very tough food. Raw meat, hard roots, and thick plants require a lot of biting force. The theory was that the chin acted like a physical support beam. It took the stress off the jawbone while chewing, but modern researchers tested this idea using computers. They looked at how force travels through the jaw when we eat. It turns out the chin does almost nothing to absorb chewing stress. In fact, the thickest part of the jaw is on the inside near the tongue, not on the outside where the chin is. So if it is not for chewing, what is it for? Another theory suggests it has to do with speech. Humans are the only animals that talk the way we do. We make incredibly complex sounds. To do this, our tongue needs a massive amount of fine muscle control. Some experts think the chin grew outward to give our tongue muscles a better anchor point. But again, the evidence is not perfect. Other animals make complex sounds without a chin. The most accepted idea today is actually a bit of an accident. Millions of years ago, our ancestors had huge faces. Their jaws stuck out far beyond their foreheads. But as humans evolved, we started cooking our food. We stopped needing massive teeth and huge jaw muscles. At the same time, our brains were getting bigger. Our skulls changed shape. Our faces actually shrank and pulled backward, sitting more directly underneath our brains. But the bottom part of the jaw did not shrink as fast as the rest of the face. It got left behind. The chin might just be a leftover piece of bone. It sticks out simply because the rest of the face retreated. It is a side effect of our changing diet and growing brains. This shrinking face caused another massive problem. You might have experienced this problem yourself. When you reach your late teens or early 20s, the back of your mouth often starts to hurt. Your wisdom teeth are trying to grow in. For most people, there is simply no room for them. They push against your other teeth. They get stuck in your gums. You have to go to a dentist and have them surgically removed. Why would evolution give us teeth that do not fit in our heads? The answer goes back to those same large faces our ancestors had. Millions of years ago, early humans had much longer jaws. They needed more teeth to grind up raw, tough food. A third set of molars was incredibly helpful. By the time an early human was a young adult, they might have already lost some teeth to decay or injury. The wisdom teeth grew in to act as replacements. They filled the gaps so our ancestors could keep eating and surviving. But then our faces shrank, our jaws got shorter. Evolution is a very slow process. It takes thousands and thousands of years to erase a body part. Our jaws became too small for the third molars, but the genetic instruction to grow them never went away. Today, millions of people suffer from impacted wisdom teeth, just because our mouths are smaller than they used to be. Now think about what happens when you feel cold, or think about when you listen to a really beautiful piece of music, or watch a scary movie. The skin on your arms gets tiny bumps, your hair stands straight up. We call them goosebumps. They are completely useless to you now. They do not make you warmer, they do not make you look scarier, they just feel strange. But your body is running a very old program. Long before we wore sweaters or jackets, our ancestors were covered in thick body hair. When it got cold out on the plains, tiny muscles at the base of every single hair follicle would pull tight. This caused the fur to stand up. A thick coat of standing fur trapped a layer of warm air right next to the skin. It was a natural winter coat. Birds do the exact same thing when they fluff their feathers in the snow. Goosebumps also had another purpose. Imagine a chimpanzee getting angry or scared. Its hair puffs out. Suddenly, the chimpanzee looks twice as big. This is an illusion meant to scare away predators or rivals. When you watch a scary movie and the hair on your arms stands up, your body is trying to make you look big and intimidating to fight off a threat. But since we lost most of our thick body hair, the trick does not work anymore. We just look like we have tiny bumps on our skin. Let us look at another hidden ghost in your body. You can actually test this one right now. Lay your arm flat on a table with your palm facing up. Touch your pinky finger to your thumb and tilt your hand up towards you slightly. Look closely at the inside of your wrist. For most people, a raised band of tissue pops up right in the middle. It looks like a tight string running under your skin. This is a tendon connected to a muscle called the palmaris longus. But here is the weird part. About 1 out of every 10 people does not have this tendon at all. If you do not see it, do not worry. You are not missing out on anything. Your grip is just as strong as anyone else. Your hand works perfectly fine. So why is it there? The palmaris longus is a relic from our deep past. Millions of years ago, our ancient ancestors lived in trees. They needed incredibly strong grips to swing from branch to branch. This muscle helped lock the wrist and hand in place for climbing. Monkeys and lemurs that spend their entire lives in the forest canopy still have a very thick and active palmaris longus. But humans came down from the trees. We started walking on 2 legs. We stopped needing to hang from branches. The muscle became useless. Over time, evolution began phasing it out. That is why some people still have it, and others have lost it completely. It is a leftover piece of a climbing machine. At the very base of your spine, right above where you sit, is another fascinating clue. It is your tailbone. Doctors call it the coccyx. If you fall backward on ice and hit it, you know exactly where it is, and you know it hurts a lot. But why do you have one? You do not have a tail. You have never had a tail. Millions of years ago, before we were even apes, our distant mammal ancestors had long, sweeping tails. Tails are incredibly useful in the animal kingdom. A monkey uses its tail for balance while running across thin branches. A dog uses its tail to communicate. A cow uses its tail to swat away biting insects. But as our ape ancestors evolved, they grew larger. They started sitting upright on branches instead of running across them horizontally. A tail actually got in the way. It was a disadvantage. Slowly, over countless generations, the tail got shorter and shorter until it disappeared completely from the outside of the body. But the bones never truly vanished. They fused together into a tiny clump at the bottom of your pelvis. It is literally a shrunken tail hidden under your skin. Even more amazing, when you were a tiny embryo growing inside your mother, you actually had a visible tail for a few weeks. It was absorbed back into your body before you were born. The biological blueprint is still there. Today, the tailbone serves a very minor purpose as an anchor point for a few muscles in your pelvis. But its true story is a reminder that we used to look very different. Then there is the most famous useless body part of all, the appendix. It is a small tube attached to your large intestine, located right in the lower right side of your belly. For a very long time, doctors thought the appendix was nothing but a ticking time bomb. It seemed to have no purpose other than getting infected. If it gets infected, it has to be removed immediately. People live long, healthy lives without one. Early scientists believed the appendix was a shrunken leftover from a time when we ate mostly leaves and tough plant fiber. Animals like rabbits have a massive version of this organ to help them digest grass. Since humans do not eat grass, ours shrank down to almost nothing. But modern medicine has found a completely different story. The appendix might not be useless after all. Your gut is full of good bacteria. These bacteria help you digest food and fight off sickness. Sometimes you get a terrible stomach bug. Your body flushes everything out to get rid of the illness. You lose a lot of your good bacteria in the process. Researchers now believe the appendix acts like a safe house. It is a tiny bunker where good bacteria can hide during a stomach illness. Once the sickness is gone, the good bacteria come out of the appendix and repopulate your gut. It is a biological backup system. We just never knew it was working behind the scenes. Now let us put all of these pieces together. Imagine a typical day for an ancient human ancestor, living perhaps 2 million years ago. The sun is just starting to rise over a vast open grassland. The air is freezing cold. As our ancestor steps out into the wind, the tiny muscles in their skin pull tight. Their thick coat of hair stands up straight. It traps their body heat to keep them warm. They do not have fire yet. They do not have clothes. They rely completely on their own biology. They spend the morning gathering food. They find tough roots buried in the dirt. They chew on thick, fibrous plant stems. They have massive jaws and flat faces that slope back into their necks. There is no chin. They need every single tooth in their head, including those large wisdom teeth in the very back, to grind down the tough raw breakfast. Their massive appendix works overtime to break down all the rough plant matter. Later in the day, a predator approaches in the tall grass. It is a large wild cat. Our ancestor is startled. Instantly, their hair puffs up again, not for warmth this time, but out of fear. They look larger and more threatening. They scramble up the nearest tall tree to escape. Their strong wrists, powered by that palmaris longus muscle, grip the branches perfectly. They swing up to safety and wait until the danger passes. Every part of their body has a clear, urgent purpose. Everything makes sense. But then a massive shift happened. Everything changed. Our ancestors discovered how to control fire. They began to cook their meat and roast their roots. Cooking was perhaps the greatest turning point in human history. It pre-digested our food for us outside of the body. We no longer needed massive teeth or powerful jaws to chew for hours. Because chewing took less energy, our bodies could afford to grow larger brains. Our faces began to shrink to make room for those brains. Our jaws pulled back, leaving that strange bony chin sticking out by accident. Our mouths became too small for those big wisdom teeth in the back. We learned how to make clothes from animal skins to keep warm. We did not need our own thick body hair to survive the winter anymore. The hair slowly vanished over thousands of generations. It left only those tiny goosebump muscles pulling at bare skin. We stayed on the ground, walking long distances on two legs to hunt and gather. We stopped climbing trees every day. That wrist muscle began to fade away entirely. We changed our own environment, and our new environment changed our bodies. We essentially built a new world with tools and fire, and our biology has been trying to catch up ever since. Evolution is just a very slow editor. It crosses things out when they are no longer needed, but it always leaves faint traces behind on the page. Think about those early ancestors surviving in a harsh, cold world using every tooth and muscle just to make it to the next day. Now look at you. You eat soft, cooked food. You wear warm jackets when it gets freezing cold outside. You do not need to swing from trees to escape lions, yet you still carry the exact same biological blueprints they used. You are a modern person living in a high-tech world, but underneath it all, you are driving a very old, deeply modified vehicle.